Welcome back, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Episode 4, we're talking about one of my favorite things, one of the things I'm most passionate about, and that is strength training, making a muscle, all that good stuff. So I hope there's some points in here that have some value to you, whether you're already strength training or whether you're thinking about getting into it. Hope it helps. Do what we want with our lives. I hope you enjoy. Welcome back to another episode of Between Two Cameras. Just kidding. Strength training, something I'm very passionate about, something I'm excited to talk to you people about. Hopefully I'll drop some nuggets or a few things to consider and get your juices flowing, get your brain thinking a little bit. Strength training, my friends, is the truth. I say that a lot, and I mean it. Strength training I find to be a metaphor for life. When you strength train, you're working against a resistance, something that doesn't want to move, something that wants to keep you from moving, and you persevere through that, right? There lies the opportunity to do the hard stuff daily, weekly, that helps prepare us for life. So when life wants to keep you down, keep you from moving, and adds that resistance, I think you're better prepared to handle it. I've seen it with my life. I've seen the benefits that it's created for others. At this point in my career, thousands of people. You got to try it. One of my biggest goals for the Barbell Club, the strength training facility that I own, is to expose as many people as possible to strength training. Because I know if they will just try it and give it a chance, give it long enough of a chance, they're going to reap and see the benefits. The PR podcast, the name, what it is, kind of stemmed from this as well, right? PRs, we set PRs in the gym, personal records, lifting new weights, hitting new numbers, new physique goals. And it's the progressive resistance, right? The PR podcast, the progressive resistance podcast. It's the progressive resistance in the gym that facilitates change and helps us to be who we want to be, create what we want, right? The benefits of strength training are huge, huge. I'll go through those. I'll give you my 2 cents on what those are. But I say it all the time. I talk to my patients and my clients about this quite a bit. I believe that strength training is the closest thing that we have to the fountain of youth. And the benefits, the long list of benefits, and I probably won't even hit them all. Here's the why, right? Fountain of youth. Your body is meant to move. It is meant to work. It is meant to work through stress and resistance. That's what it's designed for. Around here where we live, kind of a rural area, right? There's plenty of opportunities for metaphor of like a diesel pickup. A diesel pickup is designed to work, right? So if you drive that diesel around and you just putz around town in it and you're never really getting the RPMs up and you're never really getting it into a good workload, it's going to end up running like shit. It's just not designed for that. It's designed to work. So we always say, when I used to be in the car business, we say, you got to drive that thing like you're mad at it. And we would tell that to people that were just kind of, the diesel pickup was just their everyday driver and they weren't really working with it. Drive it like you're mad at it because it makes it run better, right? Your body is like that diesel pickup. It is designed to work. It needs to be loaded. It appreciates being loaded. Sure, it's uncomfortable. And working out is difficult and challenging, but anything that's worthwhile is. If it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you, right? Your body needs to be loaded. So what happens when we apply load to that musculoskeletal system, we get feedback that otherwise it wouldn't get. And I see this a lot in the physical therapy clinic. I see load help facilitate movement pattern corrections and changes, sometimes better than just me cueing on how to complete that pattern. Because it's an external source of information that the body is accepting and has to correct against. That load means everything. It's the tool that you use to facilitate change in the muscle, right? It needs to be there. I argue often in the physical therapy realm that one of the biggest disservices that's happening is that we're not loading our patients enough. And I would argue that not enough load for a patient is just as detrimental to them as too much load, right? If we go too heavy in the gym, our form goes away. The intention of how we move and where we're moving from goes away. So we don't want it to be too heavy, but also if it's too light, we're going to fall short of what we're trying to accomplish as well. I always joke, it's the gym, strength training, man, that's what keeps me from killing people. It's my therapy. It keeps me on track. It keeps me sane. It declutters my mind. It improves my mood, all of these things. I believe that strength training is one of the most underused antidepressants on the planet. We get a shift in chemical balance, chemical release that helps our brain, our emotions, central nervous system even stabilize and kind of reset. The physical changes, right? Those are obvious if we give it enough time. The benefits, the list is huge. Whether it's on the mental and emotional side, whether it's the physical side, and just overall a sense of well-being, a sense of confidence. I've watched numerous clients have changes and shifts in their confidence levels. I mentioned in an earlier episode that I think there's two things that in a similar way leak positivity into every avenue of your life, and that's our relationship with God and strength training. Some might say that's a stretch, but I believe it, and I see it time and time again with both. But with the strength training, it can literally transform your life. And again, in all these different avenues, especially if you don't have it there and it's not existed. I have some clients that I train right now. It's a couple. And I was chatting with them a few months ago. We had been maybe training for, 6 to 8 months. And I was curious on what they were noticing. Hey, what are you noticing since we've been doing this strength training? And he just kind of went off of all these things that he's noticing. And I asked him some questions too. I was like, you notice any difference in just how you feel, like in your confidence, in your productivity, anything like that? And at first he's like, yeah, I don't know. And then later in the workout, he's like, I've been thinking about that question. And he's like, and I just realized all these changes that are happening, and maybe I didn't even realize it. He talked about just the things that I've already mentioned. His confidence improved. His relationship with his wife improved. What's interesting about the strength training is when you implement that in your life and you have it there regularly, it gets you thinking about other things, right? Well, if you're putting in the time going to the gym, well, now suddenly I'm thinking a little bit more about how much water am I drinking? What kind of foods am I putting in my face, right? What am I eating? What am I not eating? And it creates this positive snowball effect that can literally transform your life. And I think strength training, not just exercise, but strength training, because it keeps us connected to ourselves, and it's also the highest form of conservative treatment for joint dysfunction. I treat people in the clinic all the time that have knee pain, back pain, hip pain, shoulder pain. And one of the number one interventions that we're using for them is loading and strengthening, especially from a standpoint of making sure that the right muscles are working for the right jobs. So if you go in and you strength train, maybe you don't have these musculoskeletal disorders, cool, let's keep it that way. And you loading that system week in and week out is going to help you keep the right muscles working for the right jobs and keep you available for the things you want to do in your life functionally. Body composition. A lot of people talk about their weight loss goals. And I argue, not necessarily argue, but I I bring the point that you don't want to lose weight. You want to change body composition. So I'll give you an example, and these are made up numbers, but it makes my point. If I had somebody that, let's say, weighed 250 pounds and they wanted to lose a bunch of body fat, okay? Or they wanted to lose weight. They're 250 pounds, and let's say we checked their body fat and they were hanging out at 30%, let's say. That person, for 2 months, they diet really hard. Super clean eating, right? And they start walking a ton, so they start doing some cardio. After 2 months, we take this person's measurements again, right? Weight, wow. They were 200, they lost 20 pounds, right? They're 180. We check their body composition, it's still 30%. Still 30% body fat. Because they lost weight. They got into a calorie deficit, and the clean eating helped with that, along with the cardio of burning calories. They lost weight. Generally, they didn't change body composition. Now you take that same person, and for 2 months, they're eating very clean, they're watching nutrition, they're doing cardio, and they're strength training. So they're doing what I call the happy triad, which is nutrition, strength training, and cardio. You add that strength training component in. Now, after 2 months, we weigh that person. Scale didn't change as much, right? They were 200 pounds when we started. Now when we weighed them, maybe they only lost 10 pounds. So they're 190. But now we check their body composition. Their body fat has dropped. So now instead of 30%, maybe they dropped 5% already. Maybe they're down to 25% body fat. So we're switching body composition, not just losing weight. And ultimately, that's what people want. The scale doesn't have as much value as I think we give it. But if we can get people understanding that we want to build and keep lean tissue while we get rid of excess adipose tissue or body fat, that's what we want. And strength training has to be a part of that equation to make it happen. Strength training is the truth. I believe it to my core. You'll never change my mind. And some things to consider. If you don't know where to start, just start. Don't overcomplicate it. People overcomplicate strength training, even people that have been doing it for a long time. Like a lot of things in life, less is more. I think people get into the gym and they're like, well, it has to be a list of 25 different exercises for it to have been a great workout. Not true. You could go in, especially in the beginning stages, and you could do 3 movements and then you leave. What's important is that you're getting the most out of those movements, that your form and your intention is good. You're considering what muscle groups you want to feel it working in, and some of these basic principles that will get you further than just how many exercises you did or how much weight you lifted. But don't wait. Don't wait to start. Yeah, I need to be doing that. I'll get back to it. Don't wait. Talked about that in our last episode. You don't get tomorrow. You don't know that for sure. So don't wait. Start doing today what you want to do and what you need to do to be who you want to be. And I'm telling you, strength training can be a huge piece to that. I've seen it in my life. I've seen the benefits. God willing, I will be strength training for as long as He allows me to walk this earth. As a type 1 diabetic, I've seen the benefits directly to that. I compete in bodybuilding and powerlifting, but those things aside, strength training is what continues to help me be me from a health standpoint, from a mental standpoint, from how I want to look, all of it, from a functional standpoint. It's a huge part of my life. It's integrated into, this is my lifestyle. How I train, how I eat, it's all part of who I am. And if people would give it a chance, they're going to see those same benefits. I talk a lot about, with my diabetes, strength training is super helpful, especially from a standpoint of circulation. We know that circulation decreases with time with diabetes. Some of it's how well you're controlled, but some of it's just time under tension. Again, there it is, of how long you've had diabetes. With strength training, when you isolate a specific muscle, you're bringing tons of blood. We call it a pump, right? You get a pump in that muscle. You're getting lots of blood to that area. Blood is our transport system to remove toxins. It's our transport system to deliver nutrients. And I believe, personally, I don't have circulation issues. I've had pretty good control. But aside from that, I think a lot of it's because of my strength training. And I put these high volumes of blood in these areas for extended period of time when I'm training. And I think that helps get the nutrients that we need, get the oxygen to these areas. It's important. And for general health, strength training has to be a piece of your equation. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be 8 days a week. Everyone assumes because of what I do for a living and the way that I look that I train like 7 days a week, and it's just not true. I train 3 to 4 days a week. 3, I can get everything done and everything hit that I need to. Would I prefer to lift 5, 6 days a week? Yeah, because I enjoy it. But the rest time is important as well. If you're being efficient about your training and breaking that body down, ultimately you do not build muscle in the gym. You break it down in the gym. You build it outside of the gym, which again is why nutrition is important in these other pieces. But the strength training has to be there. If it's not in your life, I encourage you to make it a part of your life. If you give it a chance, there's a learning curve to it. Yeah, it's hard, it's difficult, but you're going to get where you really like it and you feel empowered by it. And maybe it's the inner caveman that's all still in us. But there's something powerful about moving something that feels heavy to you and doing it with good intensity, good control, good purpose. I encourage you to strength train, mostly because I said so.